It can either be your car, your credit account, and your store account, or replace any of these with a house, with your mortgage bond. Not 2 houses, 2 cars, and 5 credit cards. Welcome to Friday Finances with Mr. Msibi. My name is Msibi, better known as Mr. Msibi. If this is the very first time you are joining us today, we are saying hello. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so that you get notified every time we post a new video. Different content, all about money. In today's topic, we're going to be discussing credit score or credit profile. So in one of the videos that we once did, we talked about debt. So I think the video is titled Dealing with Debt the Smart Way. So during that time, we then touched a bit about credit. So today we then decided, you know what, let's go into deep into this thing so that people can actually understand what we mean by a credit score or a credit record. So just to be clear, I am only doing this video because of the people who are in this situation that we're going to be dealing with. If you're a person who is able to afford things on cash, please, I humbly beg you, I beg you from the bottom of my heartness, don't use credit. Stay away. Apparently, it is the fastest way to being rich if you don't use other people's money. Because in that video, we talk about good debt and bad debt. So let's continue. Let's get to it. What is a credit record, right? A credit record, it is the relationship you have with debt. We all know that we love to be in relationships. So this is one of the relationships that majority of us are in. So it's either Niajola or Nyatandana with your debt. So basically, that's what it is. I'm going to leave it a well-defined definition of what a credit score is. But the way I define it, by trying to put it in simple terms, it is the relationship that you have with debt. And then when we done deal with this thing is that it is used, or a credit record, it is used to measure you, right? So banks or financial services, they use the credit score to measure of how good you are in terms of paying for your debt. So do not be breaking and say when you have a good credit score, blah, 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 as if you have money. That doesn't mean, having a good credit score doesn't mean you have money. It just means you've been in debt for a very long time, so much so that now the banks, they trust you in saying you can still continue to borrow money. We're going to give you less interest, because the higher the credit score you have, the lower interest you have. And we also need to make it clear, just because we have a credit score of 800, it doesn't mean you can get credit. It does happen most of the time that just like I said, it means you've been in the game for a very long time, and you may find out that you have more debt. That's why your credit score is so high, and now you're at the point where you can't even take more credit. Majority of people who use credit are people who are buying cars, people who are buying houses, which is quite normal, which is exactly the real reason why we are doing this video, so that people who are already in debt can then understand how they use this thing to their advantage and how they can ensure that it stay afloat with it being balanced. So in our country, I'm not sure which country you are in, but in our country, in South Africa, the credit score is measured from 300 to 800. 300 to 850, I think. Yeah, somewhere along those lines. I stand to be corrected. Please do not join me in the comments if I got this wrong. Just try and correct me by all means necessary. So there is a certain process that you need to follow in order to request your credit score. There are companies that give you your credit score every month. I think ClearScore is one of them. There are companies that give you your credit score once a year, but TransUnion, apparently TransUnion is also giving you a monthly basis. I also stand to be corrected. Xperia, when they also do that. So in other words, if you go to a bank and request money, the bank is going to take your request of money, then they're going to take your details, and then they're going to send your details to TransUnion. TransUnion will then provide that record, because that's what happened. So basically, if you have been a person who's been taking loans or buying things on credit, chances are you already have a credit score. But the sad part is that you probably do not understand what your credit score actually means. And we are going to be helping you with that, right? So let's make a practical example so that you can understand what we mean. When someone comes to you and borrow money, right, you do not do any background checks. You just like, okay, the person needs money, you give them the money. And then when it comes to time, there's when they're supposed to pay you, and then they don't pay you. That's sign number one. We are dealing with we have a problem. Weeks later, they still don't pay you. That is the problem, right? So you notice now that that person becomes a person who doesn't pay. So had you done your proper due diligence, then you would have done what we call a credit record, which is what we're dealing with. Basically, you would have checked with previous lenders if that person does indeed pay back the money, because people do not pay back the money. And we keep on telling them, people pay back the money, right? So that is the process that the banks follow when they say they're going to do a credit check on you. They're trying to find out if are you that person who does pay back the money, because it's all about the relationship. And when we're in a relationship, we always try and find out who the person's ex, so that we can find out who you are in your behavior. So it's the same process. You're in a red relationship, you're trying to find out what is happening. So let's talk about things that affect your credit score. So let's say now you've already requested your credit score. It has been sent to you in your email. You get it. Now you see all those numbers. They tell you what it currently looks like. Then you're going to find out that last month it was at this point. This month is at this point. So you're probably wondering, how can I increase my credit score? Now, I'm a big believer of not increasing it. Just make sure that it goes down as best as you can, because I love cash. I love paying things in cash. But there are ways of increasing it. One of the ways of increasing your credit score so that it reach the highest point, obviously it means you need to be in the game for a very long time, right? More debt for you. That's one of the ways of increasing your credit score. Two, it is paying your debt on time. Guys, it is very, very much important to pay your debt on time. If you pay your debt on time, like I said, it is that relationship. They are able to say this person is a good payer. Now, things that affect your credit score the bad way, which means disadvantage you, it's not paying your debt on time, which is vice versa of paying your debt on time. Not paying your debt on time. Now, it's a common thing that happens to people of saying, it's fine, I'm going to pay double next month. You see that thing of saying you're going to pay double this month. In your credit record, it's not going to report as pay double. It's going to record as a missed payment. And a missed payment in your credit record, it reduces your points there. So in other words, just because, guys, you've been paying in advance. Let's say you're paying for a car or a house, and you pay your installment, maybe it's 3,000 rand, and when you pay 4,000 rand, which is good. Keep it up. You're going to finish your credit very fast. You continue paying 4,000, and then on the 6th month, you do not have the funds. Do not automatically assume which the extra 1,000 rand that you've been paying as extra is going to automatically fall onto the 6th month. It's not going to happen. Because what is going to happen there is that if you miss that payment, they're still going to record as the missed payment, right? Even though you paid in advance. Because the agreement you had with them was that you are going to pay on a monthly basis on this date. This is the agreed date. So it's either you pay it early or on time. If you are aware that you're not going to be able to pay on time, it's very good. Notify your creditors that you're not going to be able, because you can't just wake up today and say, tomorrow it's payday. I do not have the funds. You knew very well which you're not going to have the funds by that time. So you notify them in time so that they do not report you, because they report you to the credit bureau. I'm a poser corner. Credit bureau are those people who then compile all the entire report for you to say, this person is so and so. This is what they do. Are they a good payer or are they a bad payer? So it's late payments. Those things, they affect your payment, your credit score. And this thing called applications. Applications, good people, avoid making too many applications. That is why I'm one of the people who are against having more than one credit card. This thing of applying for a credit card at Netbank, and then next week you go to Capitec, you apply for another credit card. The following week you go to Absa, you apply for another credit card. Those things, they make you look like someone who's desperate and someone who's living, who needs credit to survive. Yes, some banks, they might give you and you'll be happy, but the interest rate is going to be high. So high that so much high that when you see other people's interest rate, you'll complain as to why. And the reason would be because now you've made it clear to your lenders that you can't survive, and they're going to, obviously, because this is business, they're going to take advantage of that. So the more applications you make, the worse your credit score is going to get. So avoid those things, right? And also, what also ruins your credit score is you maxing out your credit card, because it also sends the same information that you cannot live. So in other words, if you are given a credit card with 10,000 rand, it really doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend the entire 10,000 rand. It is the same thing with your clothing account. If you are given I think you've noticed when those people of clothing accounts, they send you messages and then they tell you that you have so much to buy. You got 3,000 rand available that you can use. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to use the entire 3,000, because if you use the entire amount of that, the entire amount of this given to you, it shows them, it gives them that information that when you cannot stick to your own budget, you cannot use credit. So you're using credit the wrong way, which is what we are against of. Do not use credit the wrong way. It's supposed to use credit the right way. So those are the things that affect your credit score. So that thing, you find yourself now, you're having that score and you can't read it. But if you can't read it, you're complaining as to what is happening. Why is my credit score so low, without finding out which is. So there are websites that I love, which are going to tell you. I'm going to link them on the description. They're going to tell you what is it that you need to fix. So among the things that I've counted are things that they're going to tell you. Now, there is, I don't think, other than people who works with TransUnion and Expedia, who have the entire formula as to how a credit score is actually calculated. All we know is that there is a criteria that they use, right? It consists of 5 elements. In those 5 elements is basically numbers. There's an airplane here. I was not even aware that I stay next to an airport. Okay, but anyway, let's continue. Within that criteria, okay, it's strong. All right. So within those criteria, we got 5 elements that we need to focus on, right? Or rather 5 elements that affect your credit score. The first one, which accounts to 35%, it is your payments. How are you paying your credits? That's number 1. Number 2, it is 30%. The 30% represent the amount of money that you owe. So when you go to your credit score, you're going to find out, they're going to tell you how much money in total that you have, your liabilities. And then, so it's 35, 30, and 15 then represents, what does 15 represent, Kana? It represents, what is this word? I wrote it here. Yes, it represents credit history. So your credit history, the one that I was talking about, how long have you been in the game? Are you that trustable, or are you much of a stay? Because the longer you've been in the game, by the way, don't tell anyone this, the longer you've been in the game of debt, it means you're a slave to a debt. So that's your 15%. And then 10%, the 10% will then represent the new debt that is being out, you've taken out, which that can be your personal loans or your new credit card or the new cell phone account that you have. And then the last one will then consist of the account mix, right? So because it is important that when you are trying to improve your credit score, you have a wide range of credit. But now, when we say wide range, we're actually talking about 3. It doesn't have to be more than that. So it can either be your car, your credit account, and your store account, or replace any of these with a house, with your mortgage bond. Not 2 houses, 2 cars, and 5 credit cards. That one is just bad. It is bad credit. Remember, I always tell people, use credit to make more money, as I call it, other people's money. Use other people's money to make more money for yourself, not other people's money to kill yourself. So those are the criteria that, or the elements that the credit bureau uses to calculate. I don't know the entire formula as to how they actually do it, but they uses those criteria to determine of what your score actually looks like. So from there, then you get to understand which this is where you are, and this is where you need to be if you're doing this. And as mentioned, guys, in the beginning, the sole purpose of making this video is so that to educate people who are already in this thing. Chances are, if you've never, ever owned a cell phone contract, bought anything on credit, your credit score is at 0. I strive to be one of those people. Like, currently I'm not there, but my plan is to go there as soon as I pay off all this debt that I have, so that I do not rely on debt, because the ultimate goal is to move away from debt, and there's no better way of moving away from anything once you have information as to how to actually do that. So that will be it for today. If you love any of the information that we've been sharing with you, please do comment and continue to subscribe, continue to support the channel so that we can continue making this content for you guys. Please remember to share this video with anyone who think you'll benefit from this. See you next time. Later. Bye.